I've written about the top 6 teams, and we always talk about the big clubs. Obviously, we'll talk about Barcelona. We're going to talk about what's going to go on with them as the transfer window goes on. We're going to keep with the big clubs, but I thought tonight we'll talk about they're not small clubs, but the smaller clubs in the Premier League. Some of them that, they're knocking at the door. They're knocking at the door of the Champions League clubs. And, some of the Champions League clubs, they're not as good as we think we are, right? Man City, everyone's like, oh yeah, Man City winning the league. I mean, they're losing to Spurs. Who loses to Spurs? Let's be honest. I've got my lone brow back. We're going to have a good evening. Good evening, Ike. Good to see you back. So let's crack on. So if you saw my tweet earlier, I'm focusing on a few more sides. Premier League Super Week is over. I hope you enjoyed it last week. Obviously, it was all the build-up to the Premier League start, and the Premier League has been an absolute godsend, I suppose. We're full of fans. I think the biggest winner of this week, maybe you could argue it was Spurs, but I think the fans won this week. So yeah, let's crack on. What I was talking about tonight is the smaller sides. I mean, this might offend some of you that support these teams, but we're going to talk about West Ham. We're going to talk about Leicester. We're going to talk about Everton. We're going to talk about Wolves. And we're going to talk about Leeds. Maybe we'll mention a little bit of Villa as well, because Villa are one of them other sides that are like banging on the door, right? They're banging on the door. I mean, I know they lost at the weekend to Watford, but they're banging on the door. They're a good side. So we're going to have to wait and see. Good evening, Liverpool FC. Nothing's going to be about Liverpool tonight, I'm afraid, because Liverpool are not one of the smaller sides. So let's crack on then. So let's start off with West Ham. Let me just... they beat Newcastle 4-2, which was... I mean, you could say that's surprising, but I suppose it's not that surprising because Newcastle are quite a poor side. But it was a good game. It was a good game by all accounts. I didn't manage to watch that game. I was very busy on Sunday. That's why I was late for the stream. But they beat Newcastle 4-2. They've started off very well. I think some of their key players... I mean, obviously their main player is Declan Rice, right? Apparently David Moyes thinks he's worth 100 million, which is, it's David. Delusional David. Evening, Fred. Glad you're back. I bet you're all happy now that Messi's gone at PSG. But we're talking about West Ham United now. What do you think to West Ham United, guys? You let me know what you think in the chat. West Ham. Do you think? I think last season they came sixth. At some point, there's points. They were in the Champions League. Obviously, David Moyes is a bit of a banter manager, if we're going to be honest. And what will they do this season? Because they came sixth last season. They haven't really got a great team to think how they came sixth. And obviously they'll be in the Europa League. No. Will they be in the Europa League or West Ham in the Europa League? I don't think they are, actually. I think Leicester got that place, didn't they? Because Leicester won the FA Cup. Oh no, Leicester came fifth, so yes. Sixth place, West Ham, they're in the Europa League. Will that hamper their chances this season? Because you need a big squad to play European football. What are we saying here? Kemi Tyber's back. I saw Leicester are proposing to expand the King Power Stadium and build a hotel, etc. I've not seen that, but it doesn't surprise me. I mean, it's got quite a small, average-sized Premier League stadium, and obviously I imagine they're really popular. Leicester City, I mean, I imagine they've always been popular anyway within Leicester, but I imagine since they won the Premier League, everyone's going to watch Leicester now. And they've just built on from top of that, haven't they? Well, Brendan Rodgers is doing really well there. They've got a lot of good players. They help fancy their chances for the Champions League. We're going to talk a lot about Leicester tonight, because I would say out of all them sides that I've listed, I would say Leicester are the best. Leicester are the best out of them, definitely. Leicester are the ones that could get top four, even though you've got Arsenal and Spurs, which we're not putting in tonight because we've talked about them quite a lot. I think Leicester City could get Champions League if they get it right, because the league doesn't look as predictable as everyone seems to think it is. That's the problem. Oh yeah, these big teams are going to just beat everyone, and the small teams, no. small teams can do well. You know, they're all a bunch of wallies with cash on the hip. They've got a lot of talent, a lot of these clubs. So this is going to be a great season ahead of us, I think. It's going to be an amazing season ahead of us. Let's start off with West Ham. They've beaten Newcastle 4-2. The goals from Cresswell, don't know who that is, Ben Rama. Souček, who done great last season, and Antonio. Antonio's been, I think he's quite a good player for West Ham. He's quite a utility man. Obviously, he's playing up front nowadays. I think he's a good player for West Ham. But, I mean, who's their best players? I'd say it's obviously Declan Rice, who's probably their best player. I like the left-back, Cresswell. It's just too bad. I mean, the left-back position for England is not. It's good. You've got Shaw and Chilwell, but Cresswell's very good as well. Wouldn't surprise me if he puts in another good season. Got a great delivery on him. Wouldn't surprise me if he gets a good move. And that's the problem with teams, you know, these teams that we're talking about tonight. Any of them that do too well, the bigger clubs come in and buy the players off them, don't they, you know? Leicester are a sleeping giant, El Paul FC01. I wouldn't say they're a sleeping giant, per se. I would never say Leicester are a giant. If you do, fair enough. But I wouldn't say Leicester are a football behemoth, you know? Leeds were a sleeping giant. And now they're back where they belong. But yeah, it was a comeback, wasn't it? I mean, they were West Ham were losing 2-1 at half time. They showed that grit, and they got 3 goals in the second half. And it's just, you know, it's 3 points away from home. First game, Newcastle. I think Newcastle may have problems this season. I think Newcastle may have really have issues this season. I think they've got some nifty players. I think they've got some good players. But Steve Bruce, don't know about Steve Bruce. He's a bit championshipy. And the owner, obviously, is the most disliked owner in the league. I think. I remember seeing a poll the other day about the owners in the league. I think it's like 3% of the fans like the owner. But, I mean, speaking about owners, if you see what we're saying there on our top right, because obviously we've had to get rid of the Premier League Super Week because the Premier League has started now. What we're going to do is we're going to get into some interesting topics, you know? We're going to talk about some interesting stuff. So, on Thursday, so 2 days' time, it will be at 8 o'clock UK time, 9 o'clock European time. We're going to talk a bit about Wigan. What went on at Wigan? It's going to be a special show. We're going to talk about what went on at Wigan Athletic. You know, that time when the Hong Kong company bought them and then they were placed into administration. We're going to go into that. We're going to really get into that. We're going to try and get someone on as well for the show because obviously I know you guys get a bit bored with just listening to me speak. It's probably better when we get someone else on. But yeah, we're going to talk about that and we're going to go into the owners of the clubs. Talk about some interesting subjects, you know, because a lot of the club's owners are very unknown, very, very unknown. James Rich investigates, exactly. That's probably what we're going to call it. James Rich investigates. So we're going to get into the nitty gritty of it all. What are these owners doing? What are they doing? Who are they? Who owns the club? How did they get this club? Because, you know, especially what went on with Wigan. I don't know if anybody knows, but what went on with Wigan was outrageous. But that we'll leave that bit for Thursday. Watch the show on Thursday. We're going to go into the Wigan story. Obviously they've been bought now, but what went on before was very sketchy stuff. And football does seem to have a lot of these strange stories. Maybe not as strange as the Wigan story about a year ago, but it's interesting to me, and I thought let's make content like this. But very quickly, I mean, I want to stay on what we're talking about tonight, but let me just show you guys about this little. I thought this was a good thing that the Sky Bet put out. I don't know the survey. I mean, it's like any other survey, isn't it? Surveys don't really mean. I mean, they can be important, but you can make a survey to really make whatever point you want, you know, because it's only a certain amount of people or whatever. But I think this is quite a good chart, if you know what I mean. So at the top of the chart, this is basically a percentage survey of fans asked who would you like your chairman or your owner to remain at the club, owning the club? And no surprise there that Leicester are top, right? I was saying this to the friend the other day about Leicester. They must be the only club that I know of where the fans love the chairman. There's not many fans like that. There's not many clubs like that, sorry. There's not many clubs at all like that, but that's for obvious reasons. How would you not love the people that own the club when you won the Premier League? I know that they didn't put they have put a lot of money in, obviously, since, and during, and obviously that was such a magical season, they won the league. But there's no surprise there. 94.6% of the Leicester fans think that the owner should stay. I mean, I'd like to meet that 1 in 20 people. The 5% are like, no, he's got to go. They've got to go. I mean, I'm not even going to try and say their name. And then you've got at the top as well, Brighton as well. Brighton's high, 94.4%. And he's an interesting guy, that guy that owns Brighton. Not much known about him. Maybe we'll do a show on him. Tony Bloom, the chairman of Brighton. Very good, very strange guy. He owns Brighton. He's done well for Brighton, right? They've got him into the Premier League. They've got a brand new stadium. What's there to not like as a Brighton fan? But he's a very sketchy guy as well, perhaps. I don't know. But he's very unknown. I like the unknown people because then, there's something, what's he up to? Brentford. I don't know who owns Brentford. Brentford's third and 91.7%. 91.7%. So, whoever owns... But obviously, he's got him into the Premier League, so you're going to get all those accolades. You're going to get all of the accolades. And then, Villa at 89. Villa... if you'd done this a few years ago, that would have been at the bottom. This can change at any time. Man City at 82.1. Now, I think that's a bit weird. Who are these 18% of Man City fans that are like, no. I wanted before that the Arabs were in charge. I wanted before that the Arabs in charge when we were losing 8-0 to Middlesbrough. Who are these Man City fans? See, this is what I mean about surveys. How is it not 99% for Man City? What are you guys saying? What's your opinion about Leeds and Man U? I'll put my opinion... Oh, you mean the game, the Leeds-Man U game? I think Man United were magnificent, weren't they? They were very efficient in front of goal. They played really well. They created a lot of chances and they scored the chances. And Leeds just got caught out, didn't they? Leeds scored an amazing goal, but Leeds just got caught out. It was men versus boys that game. It was just bang, 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 bang. 5-1, get out. See you later. See you next time. Maybe the 5% just believe in different ownership models rather than having anything against the owner personally. I assume you're talking about Leicester. You must be. Perhaps, but then... Well, it's just probably someone that it doesn't matter who's in charge. If Jesus Christ was in charge, it's still like, no, get him out of my club. It's my club. Get him out. Yeah, they're probably them type of people. And then you got a few more: Man City, Leeds, Watford. I don't know who owns Watford. Everton, still that Iranian fellow. He's putting a lot of money into the club. Norwich, Burnley, Palace, Wolves. All of them. Who doesn't matter about the middle bit. Let's hit the bottom bit. As I was saying earlier, the Newcastle, only 3.1%. of them are pro Mike Ashley. Now, if any of you are pro Mike Ashley and a Newcastle fan, come on my show and tell me why. Because I want you to tell me why the 97% of people are wrong. Because remember, I don't know if you guys remember this, but don't you remember when there was meant to be a Saudi takeover of Newcastle United? But it collapsed. It collapsed. And it was like nearly a done deal. What's his name? That MBS apparently was even involved with it. But... it was all obviously fake news. There's a lot of fake news in football. I don't know how that term didn't get invented before Trump. I just don't get it. How did that term not get invented with football? Fake news. There's so much bullshit. It's unbelievable. What are we saying? Matthew Benham owns Brentford. He turned a 700k into a £300 million business empire. Cool. Fair play to him. Matthew, if you want to come on the show, let us know. Do a few questions. But Brentford, he must be a Brentford lad. He sounds English, Matthew Benham. He's probably a Brentford supporter through and through. I think a few of them are, aren't they? They just, they obviously can't play. Obviously most of us can't play for the clubs, but they make a lot of money and go, let's own the club, because owning a football team is a strange one, isn't it? Because let's have a look at Barcelona. What other businesses or enterprises in the world have got 125% of its revenue on its wages. There's a question for you. Try find me one. 2 times it has happened with Newcastle. They're trying to sell the club every year. Yeah, no, I know that, but I mean, with Newcastle, it was a weird one because they were going to be the next Man City, right? There's a difference between selling to someone else, just another businessman, or consortium or hedge fund or anything like that, than apparently they were going to be sold to the Saudi state, and that would have been Man City times 10, mate. They'd have been like, yeah, Kane, Messi, Ronaldo, we'll get them all in, Sam. They're all going to be Geordies, They'd have loved it up there. Bit cold, but they would have paid him a fortune. So, but Newcastle, I think, is one of them clubs. Maybe you could pick it up cheap because he must have had enough by now. That fella, what's his name, Mike Ashley. I don't know why he bought Man City in the first place. Do you remember when he first bought it and he used to sit in the stands with the fans? He thought, yeah, I'm one of the guys, and then one of the fans, and then obviously it turned south quickly. Because I don't really get why they hate him that much. He's not a likable fella, is he? That's probably why, but he's not that bad compared to. He is bad. I'm not saying he's a good owner. Of course, I'm not saying he's a great owner. He doesn't really care, does he? But I don't see why they hate him that much. I can see why the Arsenal fans hate their owner because they've put nothing into the club and they've took a lot out of it. I can see why the United fans hate the Glazers because the Glazers put all the money, all the debt onto Man United and have they've just exploited everything out of United. But Newcastle, maybe they've done it on a smaller scale and we don't know about it, but that's why we're doing a show like tonight. We're speaking about the smaller clubs. We're not speaking about United, we're speaking about Liverpool, we're not speaking about Arsenal. You're probably saying, why not Man City? Man City and Chelsea have elevated themselves there, right? But we're not going to speak to them either. But yeah, so you're at the bottom, you've got Newcastle, and then, yeah, Arsenal, Man United. That doesn't surprise me. That surprised me. Southampton, I don't know who owns Southampton. But obviously, let's be honest. Obviously, without Leicester is an anomaly because they won the league. Brentford and Brighton are only like that much because with all due respect to these clubs, I like them both and I think they're both going to stay up. But when was the last time they were in the top division? So it's like if you have an owner that's got you to the Premier League, like they're going to be universally liked because they're small clubs, right? And then you got Villa at 89.3. That must be because most of it's just because of the investment, right? It's just the investment. Like you're spending a lot of money. The fans are going to like the owner. They're going to like the owner. So, we'll have to wait and see though on Villa. Villa has spent a few quid, and a lot of clubs over time have spent a few quid, and they're not always doing well. They're not always, hitting the heights. Look at Everton. They've spent a fortune, and they got a bunch of average players. A lot of the Premier League sides have spent a lot of money, and a lot of them are not very good. But that's let's say we were talking about that there, the owners. But we're talking about West Ham earlier. Where are West Ham in this? Who owns West Ham? West Ham 27.8. That's the Sullivan and Gold, isn't it? That own West Ham. I think that's another club that will be available to buy. Obviously, they're all available to buy. But I think West Ham will be one of them clubs that I think will be very attractive to, someone like PSG or Man City or someone like that. States, basically. West Ham is probably better than both of them. Because West Ham has got the stadium, it's in London, it's got the heritage. I think West Ham's the next one to get bought, I think, because them two will sell. Because they're not that rich. Obviously they're rich compared to me, but like they'll sell for a profit, and I don't think it's in debt that much. I don't think they're doing quite well at the moment as well, aren't they? They're keeping in the league. I think West Ham's the next one that's going to get a rich owner. Clip this, show me in 3 years' time, and you'll go, yeah, James was right. It's a shit business when things don't work out. Mal Morris lost 200 million on Derby and still trying to get out of it. but struggling to find a buyer. I don't think anyone's going to buy Derby, are they? I don't think anyone's going to buy Derby. I think they're in dire straits, absolute dire straits. And Mel Morris is the guy that owns Candy Crush, right? I think that's his company. He owns all those games. But I think he must have either sold it or he must have made hundreds of millions from it. And he's just a boyhood Derby fan. And I think there's a few of them. Well, as I say, we'll have a look into the chairmans of the clubs and the owners of the clubs. We'll do like a little series on a few of them because it's quite interesting, and no one seems to be taking any notice of the owners. Everyone just keeps to be taking notice of the players, but the owners are the most important people in the clubs, right? Um, I would buy Derby for £1. Well, give Mel Morris a call. I'm sure you could DM him on Candy Crush. So send Candy Crush to customer support an email saying you want to buy Derby for £1. I'm sure Mel Morris will call you tomorrow. So therefore, how come these clubs struggle? Because of greed, obviously. It's all because of greed. They go, oh, and they overstretch themselves, don't they? Because it's the wages, isn't it? I think it's the wages of the players. If you think about it, just to have a bang average player to pay him 20 grand a week, and you're selling, say, and if you're not in the Premier League as well, if you're in the Premier League, you're all right. You get all your money from TV. That's why the Premier League clubs have splashed the cash. I mean, I know it's not as outrageous as it normally has been, but they have splashed the cash this summer because they didn't really care about the fans not turning up to the stadiums. Let's be honest about that. Let's get that one out there. They can lose. How many fans are there? Say 60,000, and it's £40 a ticket. How much is that? That's 2.4 million revenue, right? But they've got costs on top of that. So they don't really need that. The money that they get mostly from is sponsorship, but mostly TV. I don't know how much all the clubs get, but I think all the clubs got 5%. I think it's well ran in the Premier League, but there's hundreds of millions that these clubs get from the TV. They don't really give a shit about the fans coming. Brutally, it's horrible to say, but they don't actually care, and that's why they were like, when the COVID hit, they're like, we still got to get it on, just don't let the fans in. Because they can take that hit. Obviously, they want that money as well, but they can take the hit, the Premier League clubs. But the Championship and below, they can't take that hit. They need their fans to come in to pay everything off. So we're going to see a lot of clubs, I think, maybe struggle, especially the lower league clubs. And, they're always struggling clubs. It's greed and it's putting players on too much money that shouldn't be on that much money. And then it's not succeeding. It's making poor decisions and not succeeding. And then your problems just escalate even worse and your problems compound and compound and compound. And then you end up like, clubs remember like Luton. I know Luton are doing all right now, but you remember like Luton, they used to be in the Championship and dropped all the way down to the Conference because they just keep going down, down, down. If you've got financial problems, it just compounds and compounds and compounds. Just like it does in real life, in your own life, I suppose. Um, Ryan Reynolds bought Wrexham. Lol. Yeah, I heard that as well. He does a lot on YouTube, doesn't he, Ryan Reynolds? He does a lot on he does a lot on YouTube, Ryan Reynolds. Doing a lot of shows. He's quite an interesting fellow. He owns like some vodka company as well or something with one of the other. I think it's one of the guys from that. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. But I mean, it's a bit like the United ex-United players. They all own Salford, and they're doing quite well, aren't they? I mean, Kemi Tyler will tell you he's a Derby guy. So, uh, how did that go in the end? I think Derby beat them in the end in the League Cup, but Salford are doing well. They're in the Football League now, and it's only a matter of time, I reckon, till they'll get Championship. If you put a bit of money into a club in the lower levels, it's only a matter of time until you'll get to the Championship. You can get all the best players in that league, right? Because the clubs around you have not got that much money. So you get all the best players in that league, get up, and then you get to the Championship. It's a bit more difficult because you've got a few good teams in the Championship and you've got teams that are coming down that have got more quality. But when you get to the promised land, the Premier League, it's all worth it in the end, isn't it? Who's had the most momentous rise ever into the Premier League? It must be a team like Brentford. Where were Brentford 10 years ago? Where were they 10 years ago? None of their fans 10 years ago would have thought, oh, we're going to be. Imagine saying that 20 years ago to a Brentford fan. Oh, we're going 20 years back. Imagine saying to a Brentford fan 20 years ago in 2001, listen, 2021, first game of the season, you'll be playing in the Premier League with a brand new stadium and you'll beat Arsenal 2-0 at home, comprehensively. They'd all think you're wacky, wouldn't they? They'd all think you're crazy. Right. Many use the clubs, many owners use the clubs as their own spending accounts. Yes, they do. We're going to look into this for you, Fred. We're going to look into this for you. James Rich investigates. And I don't know. I don't know how it all works in the clubs. Like, I mean, I don't even really know how transfers work. I know we talk on this show a lot about transfers, and obviously all of you in the chat, who are watching it, probably likes the transfer gossip, and these players go for this amount or whatever. But I don't think they just go, oh yeah, just wire that money into that account and you can have that players. I don't think it's as simple as that. Obviously, we know it's maybe not as simple as that. And there's add-ons and there's clauses and there's payment options. There's always payment options anywhere in any walk of life. Don't matter if you're a bin man or if you're a banker. There's always a payment option. Right. West Ham 2024 clip. Yeah, we will see. Yeah. Well, we won't see now, but we'll see in 2024. They'll be bought. Guarantee you. Guarantee you. Yeah, I could see Salford having a good chance to make it up within 5 to 10 years. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying. I think they will. I think they will make it up in 5 to 10 years. And 5 to 10 years in football, to the manager at the time, seems like a long time. But for the owner, it doesn't actually seem that long. Really, like 5 to 10 years is not that long for an owner. I don't think. If you're in it for the long run, you say, oh, I'm going to put in this amount of money. And there's loads of them that have put in a lot of money. And in 5 to 10 years, you'll be in the Premier League. It's not that bad. You could probably buy most, as long as you get the right manager. The manager's the key, isn't they? But Salford City have got something else, haven't they, compared to, just rich owners. I mean, they're rich, yes, but they're not like oligarchs. But they've got the football know-how, haven't they? They've got the expertise, them lot. I don't know who's involved. I think it's Gary Neville, Phil Neville, Paul Scholes, Nicky Butt. Don't know if they gave Giggs the elbow. I'm sure they'll give Giggs the elbows probably soon because he's in he's not a good PR for the Salford team, is he? Because Giggs was the perfect player, wasn't he, as a player, and then he's just retired, and then everything came out about him, which is a bit weird. But yeah, we were talking about West Ham. How do I think West Ham will do this season? I think West Ham will be all right. But I think if they are in the Europa League, let me just check if West Ham are in the Europa League. Because, sorry, I mean, I'm knowledgeable, but I don't know everything about football. Yeah, they're in the Europa League. And I think this is not going to help them. I think this is going to hinder them. Because their squad's not big enough, let's be honest. The squad isn't just not big enough to handle it, playing this Thursday night garbage. Let's have a look at their squad. I always use Wikipedia for the squads. And who have they got, really? I mean, they've got... I didn't realise Winston Reid was still there. They've got these two Czech players that are very good, haven't they? Kofi and Souček. They've done all right for them. And then they've got Cresswell, who's pretty good. They've got Bowen, who's all right. They've got Lanzini, who's quite good. Pablo Fornals is not bad. Yarmolenko, I used to think he was all right, but he's not great. But yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't think that obviously got Declan Rice, who's probably their best player. Mark Noble, he must be old now. Mark Noble, how old is Mark? He is 34. Oh no, it's not that old. He was like 38 or something. But yeah, I don't think they're good enough to compete in the Europa League and the Premier League. Personally, I don't think they'll go down, but I think they're going to come in the bottom half of the table this season. Moyes doesn't have that many supporters, does he? He doesn't have that many support within the West Ham fans. A lot of people, whatever Moyes does, everyone's like, oh, maybe it's a fluke. Moyes is just not a well-liked manager. I don't know why. I think it must have been a spell at Man United. It must have been. I think it's because, I mean, this is my opinion, but Ferguson handpicked him, didn't he, Moyes, and everyone thought, an idiot, Moyes, you wanted it. You wanted Moyes to take over. Ferguson just trolled everyone, didn't he? He said, I'm leaving United. I'm going to pick this shithead as my replacement just to show you how great I am. That's what it looked like, but, Um, but yeah, West Ham, no, I don't think they're going to have a very good season this season. All right, they've won 4-2. I think they'll beat teams like Newcastle. I think they'll beat the teams below them, but I think they're going to come about 12th, 13th, something like that, because they'll be overstretched. They'll be overstretched in Europe. Even this group stages, and they have to go to a lot of places, And it's not like a nice place, Oh, where are you going? Oh, we're going to go to Sevilla. No, it's fucking Azerbaijan, Baku FC. No, 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 no. It takes its toll on these teams playing Sundays. I don't think West Ham are ever going to have a good season. It's just a strange thing, that, isn't it? The irony of it, that you have a good season, you qualify for Europe, and if you don't get Champions League and you get this Europa League, it's actually a hindrance to you. That's what people are arguing about Arsenal. They haven't got it this season. They haven't got the Europa League. So theoretically, it should just concentrate on the Champions League. But not the Champions League, the Premier League. Arsenal nowhere near the Champions League. Sorry about that. Nowhere near the Champions League. And the only time they're close to the Champions League is when we go on YouTube and watch Arsenal play in the Champions League against Bayern or Barca and they lose 5-1. That was years ago, 5 years ago. So, West Ham, nah. Jury's out on West Ham. I think they're going to come out 12th, 13th. But let me just go back to... Where's my Twitter? Because I wanted to talk about Leicester as well, didn't I? I wanted to talk about Leicester. Now, Leicester done all right at the weekend. They beat Wolves 1-0. Jamie Vardy. They got him, didn't they? Jamie Vardy. Whatever you say about Jamie Vardy, Giggs out. Giggs is out, mate. He was a Wales manager. He's been booted. I think something's going on with Giggs at the moment. We'll keep you updated. Leicester won 1-0 against Wolves, which is it's a pretty good result, to be fair, because Wolves, I think, are pretty good. I don't think Wolves are going to go down at all. I think Wolves are another solid side. Let's talk about these two at the same time. I didn't manage to watch this one. This was obviously on Saturday. I watched a few of the highlights. But yeah, it's a good result, Leicester. But they got a goal scorer, haven't they? If you've got a goal scorer, like James Vardy, I'm James, he's not James. Jamie Vardy, you always stand a chance, don't you? And he's of the right age where no one's going to come along and buy him, because he turned down Arsenal a few years ago, didn't he, when they won the league? But Jamie Vardy's going to stay there, and they've got a lot of quality. James Maddison, they've got good defence. They've even got like Iheanacho that's coming through. They've bought some new players. And Ndidi is class. You just got to make sure they hold on to these players, because other clubs may be sniffing around them. Man United, they need a defensive mid. Man City now they don't. Liverpool maybe might need a centre mid. Nah, they don't need one, but they might buy one. I still don't think. I'm not going to talk about Grealish again, because we talk about Grealish all the bloody time. I still don't think Man City needed Grealish, and it showed that against Spurs on Sunday. You don't even fucking need him. Sorry for the swear words. You've got about 7 of the same players in the squad. You don't need Grealish. James Rich, is Declan Rice the future? The future of what? Rice? No. What, the future of what? England? I don't know if you remember last time, but when I think it was when Josh was on, he was saying that Calvin Phillips is better than Declan Rice, and obviously he would say that, he was a Leeds fan, but I thought Calvin Phillips played better than Declan Rice in the Euros, but I like Declan Rice. I think he's a very talented player. I think he's a hard-working player. He's got good fitness levels. He's very intelligent. He reads the game exceptionally well. He's got a good touch. He passes the ball off. Yeah, I think he's a good player. I think he should stay probably at West Ham this season. I think the problem with Declan Rice, I think Declan Rice, his best mates with Mason Mount, they're both from the same town and they played together since they were kids. And obviously they must be like, oh, come Chelsea, come Chelsea, come Chelsea. And he must want to go Chelsea. But why would Chelsea want him? Obviously you'd want him because he's a great player. But it's like, why would you need him, Jorginho, and Kante? No, who has 3 defensive midfielders? Really? I remember that. Remember that about Man City when they had three. They used to play three defensive midfielders. They used to. I mean, I know they changed Yaya Toure into an attacking one, but when he first signed, he was defensive, and they played Yaya Toure, Gareth Barry, and who was the other one? Nigel De Jong. Them three together. It's like, all right, calm down. Um, their new striker Patson Daka is serious. Yeah, we talked about him on the last show. 30 million. Um, so if he turns out good, and Leicester are quite good at recruitment, I'd say they do sell their players because I mean, unfortunately they have to sell their players. One of the bigger teams comes in for them, the player's head gets turned, right? So, and unfortunately for Arsenal at the moment, and this is the discussion they were having on Sky the other day, and Roy Keane said it, and I agreed with him, was why would James Maddison leave Leicester to go to Arsenal? What for? The only thing you would leave Leicester to go to Arsenal for would be for money, right? For a massive contract. Because obviously he's going to go for 60 million, so he's going to be on a lot of money, but Arsenal don't really pay that much money anyway. So why would you leave Leicester, who have just won the FA Cup, who look like they're doing things, they're an exciting team, they play expansive, attacking football, to go to Arsenal to play? I mean, you watched it with me on the watch along, when we'll be doing some more watch alongs definitely as the season goes on, because I really enjoyed that. Um, why would he leave? Why? Why would you want to leave Leicester to go to Arsenal? You might want to leave Leicester to go to Man United or Liverpool or Man City or Chelsea. But why would you leave Leicester to go to Arsenal or Spurs? I wouldn't. Stupid move. Terrible decision. Um, but yeah, but they signing these players, as you said. This Patson Daka is a good player. This serious player. I mean, if he's any good, I mean that's the good thing about a strike. If he's any good, he scores, doesn't it? You any good? Yeah. All right, we'll just put the ball in the goal. Done. You're not any good. Striker doesn't put the ball in the goal. So simple that with a striker. So we're gonna have to wait and see on Patson Daka. I know he's bought for a few quid. I mean, it sounds. I mean, still to me, 30 million's a few quid, but I think that's about. I would say the average Premier League striker today. Like say an average Premier League striker, like Tammy Abraham. Let's be honest, he went for 40 million euros, didn't he? That's about the price. It's about 25 million now. That's about your price for an average Premier League striker. So someone like, I don't know, Benteke, bang average. If someone wanted to buy him, I reckon it'd cost 20, 25 million. And he did cost that much, I suppose, back in the day. But he used to be an absolute beast, didn't he? But I don't know what's happened to him. He's just died off. I remember he used to be fighting Lukaku for the Belgium striker position. But nowadays, obviously that's Lukaku's all day, every day. Um, but yeah, I think Leicester are going to do well this season. I think Leicester are going to do really well this season. I mean, you've heard me on the show slag off Brendan Rodgers a few times. I just think he's a bit delusional, isn't he, Brendan? I think he's very delusional. I think he thinks he's like Mourinho. It's like, nah, mate. He thinks he's came from Celtic, and it's like, all right, just came from winning the treble. I'm a winner. It's like, no, you're not, mate. You've won nothing. But I think he's a good quality Premier League manager. Um, but I mean, there was talks of him going to Arsenal, wasn't there? It's like, but why would he leave Leicester to go to Arsenal? Why would you leave what you've got at the minute? You've got a great owner. You've got a great set of players. You know, you, uh, you've been backed in the window because Leicester. Let's see if Leicester have brought in. They've brought in a few players. Um, why would you leave Leicester to go to Arsenal? It just doesn't make any sense. But let's just see who they've brought in. They've spent a few quid, I know they have. I remember seeing it. So who have they got? Yeah, they bought in Patson Daka, you're on about 30 mil, and they bought in this centre mid as well, Samare. So maybe they are thinking they're going to sell Ndidi, and he's his replacement. Bertrand on a free is not bad. He's not bad. That's a good signing, I think, on a free. Good quality Premier League player. He would have cost you 20 million normally, but they got him on a free. And then they've raided Southampton again for their centre half, haven't they? I didn't realise he went like Jamek Vestergaard, 17 million. So, they've shored up their defence, and then they've got, well, this is not right. They've shored up their defence, they've got a good striker and a centre mid. And the most important thing, they've kept all their players, haven't they? Who have they sold? This is who they've sold. They've sold Gizal, I don't think any of us know who he is. They sold him for 3 million. Christian Fuchs, they've sold to, who's that? Charlotte Independence, which is a second tier team in America. Told him that they can keep him. Matty James, don't know who he is. He's gone. Wes Morgan, he's a legend, obviously, he's retired. And which didn't work out. But then again, he's gone to, he's went back to Roma, yeah. He's on loan from Roma. But apparently he was meant to be quite good, but he just didn't work out. So they've kept all the players, Leicester, haven't they? There's talks of Madison leaving, but I don't think that will happen now. So yeah, I think Leicester are going to do well this season, and they could press. I think they're going to be in and around the top four. Definitely, they're going to be in and around the top four. Maybe I think, but they should be by the end of the season. They should really be beating Arsenal and Spurs. They've got more than Arsenal and Spurs. The Spurs, they're looking all right. They're looking all right. To be fair to them, I'm not judging them on the first game, but then again, Spurs are inconsistent. Maybe I am judging them on the first game. Don't say anything about Spurs. Useless. But I like that manager. And he's got a good job there. He got an upgrade job. I don't know why he left Wolves, but he did in the end. But let's crack on, because we spoke about West Ham. I've spoken about Leicester. I think Leicester, as I'll say, they'll be in and around the top four, but they'll probably get like Europa League or something like that. Again, but they got Europa League this season, but their squad's good enough and big enough to handle it, whereas West Ham's isn't. I don't know why I keep going off my Twitter account. That's where the agenda's set. Go on my Twitter to check out what I'm saying. So Everton. Now I've got to talk about Everton for a bit. Everton won, didn't they? They won at the week. I just think they're so average at the moment. They're so average, that side. And Benitez, I don't like Benitez at all, but they've done well. But I do think Southampton are going to have problems this season. They've lost Bertrand and that Vestergaard. They started left back and centre back last season. I don't know who they've brought in, but Southampton ain't got much up front either. They always need to have a good defence. So Southampton, I think, could be into a relegation dogfight this season. We'll do a show on a relegation dogfight. That's what we'll call it. And I think there'll be a few teams in the dogfight for sure. What are you saying here? Nuno left because he didn't get on with the Wolves hierarchy. They are ruthless and without sentiment. Probably. Did he not sign a new contract and his contract expired, and it was like mutual consent, right? It wasn't like he was sacked. They just went, all right, nah, we don't fancy it, and he was like, nah, all right, see you later. Basically, I don't think it was like, all right, get out. We've packed your bags, off you go, Nuno, son. Because he's done so well for him. And he must have been one of the longest serving managers in the Premier League. He was there for a while. But let's go back on to Everton. We'll talk about Wolves maybe in a bit, because we've only got about an hour show. We've got about 15 minutes left. We'll squeeze in Wolves and Leeds within the 15 minutes. So Everton won 3-1, right? They got Richarlison that loves football, clearly. He was playing in Copa America after the Premier League. Then he played in the Olympics. At some point, they must have said to Richarlison, "Listen, lad, do you want a break?" He went, "Nah, I'm playing." So he's got a good attitude. I think Richarlison is probably a bit too good for Everton, but because they bought him for 50 million, they're not going to sell him for anything less than, I'd say, 70, 80 million, and I would say he's worth that. I would say he's worth something like that. It'd be interesting to see who would come in for Richarlison. Obviously, some of the bigger clubs wouldn't buy him. But who would buy him? Who would buy? Maybe Spurs, if they sold Kane, could do with him. But I'll need an out-and-out striker. But Richarlison's good. I think he's a great player for Everton. I think he's way too good for Everton. He scores goals, he assists. He's always taking the ball forward. He's always high energy. I think he's an excellent player. He's one of the very few I can count on one hand. One hand, Everton's good players. Because the rest of them bang average. Decore is another one that I rate as well highly. Always rated him pretty highly. Centre mid. I know he went last season from Watford, didn't have a great season, but I think he's got quality, that boy, in the centre of the park. He's got everything to be a top quality centre mid. Maybe this is his season. Calvert-Lewin, I still think's a donkey. He's good with his head, I'll give him that. But so is Harry Maguire. But I don't think he's a clinical finisher in front of goal with his foot. No way. And he showed that last season, last season, didn't he? Because he started off excellently, started off brilliantly, scoring a lot of goals, and then what did he do in the second half? Nothing. He's just not top. And, at his age, it's not like he's 16 or 17 or 18. He's like 23 or something. It's like, you'd get 20 goals a season, 25 a season by now. Come on. So he's an Everton player. So I just hope, I wouldn't care, to be fair, if Everton, because obviously Kane's going to Man City, right? Let's be honest, I don't really know what you guys and girls think, but when I saw Kane, not even at the stadium, the club captain, not even at the Spurs stadium against Man City, I sort of took that as he's gone. Well, that's it, it's over. And Spurs are a selling club, and they know they're a small club. So he's gone. I don't know what Man City try and make out as if they haven't got any money, haven't they? But it's only a matter of time until it'll probably be a deadline day deal, right? To keep us on our edge of our seats. Is Kane going? Yeah. No, he's definitely going. He's got to be going, because that'd be so weird if he doesn't go now. It'd be so strange. I don't want to talk about Man City. I'm sick of Man City. I want to speak about Everton. But who's Everton's team? Let's have a look at their starting 11 team. It's just really average, I tell you. It's really, really average. Pickford, no. Jury's still out on Pickford. Not good enough for me. He's lucky that there's no other England goalkeeper that's just staying fit and playing really well. The one that worries him the most must be Henderson at Man United, but he can't get into the team because De Gea is still a good goalkeeper. However, I always thought De Gea was a good goalkeeper, but Simon, what's his name? Simon at Spain, whoever he plays for, I think it's Bilbao. He's the goalkeeper of Spain, not De Gea, the world-class goalkeeper. It's Simon. But who have you got here? Pickford? No. Coleman? He used to be good, but he's getting on a bit now. Holgate is not bad. Average. Dini's good. It's not bad. Keane's, it's just... I don't like that defence. It's not very good at all, really. It's a bit average. The left back's very good. I'm surprised a better team's not went out and got Digne. And then you got in the centre mid, it's not bad. Allen and Doucouré is not bad at all. I have to admit that's not bad at all. But then it gets really bad. Then it gets really, really bad. It gets like proper Palace level shit. Townsend on the right, Andros Townsend, who's literally done nothing his whole career. He's quite exciting. He can dribble quite well, but he's got no end product. Garbage. Get rid of him. Don't know why you would sign him. Like, come on, what do you expect? Gray. Demarai Gray has got the free roll at Everton. Yeah, give that lad the free roll. He's Gaza, isn't he? Fuck off. Demarai Gray has got the free roll. He didn't even feature for Leicester. And then they've got Richarlison on the left, who's, as I've said, like Richarlison, too good for the club. Calvert-Lewin we've already spoke about, not massive fan of him either. And then who have you got on the bench? Delph, Mina, Begovic, Iwobi, and then a bunch of kids. It's garbage. It's just garbage. Everton, I think, are going to come in the bottom 10. Definitely in the bottom 10, maybe 11th, 12th. Rafa Benitez is quite a has-been manager. I never thought he was a good manager at Liverpool. I know a lot of Liverpool fans will go, well, he won the Champions League, but no, he didn't buy very well. Who did he buy that was any good? He bought Mascherano that was pretty good, Torres that was good, but Gerrard carried that side for most of it with Rafa Benitez, let's be honest. It was Gerrard that got the job done, not him. Let's just quickly, I know we're not talking about Southampton, but let's just quickly have a look at their team. As I say, McCarthy, he's not bad. And then the defence, it's like, these are new players. Don't know who that is. Stevens was all right last season. Don't know who that is. So maybe they're quite good. Walcott's average. Ward-Prowse is good, but there's talks of him going to Villa. Then they got Romeo, who's not bad. And then Janepo. And they got two strikers, Armstrong and Adams. They're playing 4-4-2, Sam. I think they're going to be in a relegation dogfight, I'll be honest with you. Who have they got on the bench? Redmond, Armstrong, Walker-Peters. They're an average, poor side that could easily get relegated this season. Southampton. Still got the same manager that's lost them games 9-0. Obviously knows how to turn it around, but Southampton are in dire trouble. But let's crack on. I've only got 10 minutes left. Everton must have one of the highest net spends over the last 5 years. Yeah, they do. I mean, who have they sold? Who have they sold? Everton. No one, right? Can't you tell me in the chat? Who have Everton sold? Oh, Lukaku, that's it. The only player they've ever sold is Lukaku. The rest of them have cost them like 30, 40 million. Like Iwobi was 40 million. And I remember watching Arsenal Fan TV and some of them were moaning about it. I'd have fucking drove him up to Goodison Park. Off you go, son. See ya. 40 million for that donkey. Jesus, that's daylight robbery. Absolute daylight robbery. But let's crack on with Wolves, because we can leave Leeds out, because we spoke about Leeds before. But Wolves, obviously they lost to Leicester. But let's quickly go through the teams, actually, of Wolves. Because, I mean, they've kept most of their players as well, haven't they? I mean, they've got such a good team, Leicester, there. You know, the goalkeeper, I think, I'm surprised no one ever bought him. I'm surprised Chelsea didn't buy him. You know, when Kepa was stumbling and they bought out that Mendy, I'm surprised they never went out and bought Schmeichel. That would have been a great signing, because he's brilliant. But, you know, they've got Tielemans and Ndidi. That is a class midfield. That's way better than Arsenal's midfield. Way, miles ahead of Arsenal's midfield. Miles ahead. Tielemans and Ndidi. Arsenal would give everything to have them two in the midfield. Maddison in the free role, better than Arsenal. Barnes is a good player. Very good player. And he's number 7 now, from the left. And this is not, I mean, they've still got a lot on the bench as well. That's what you've got to remember. Perez on the right. I forgot about Jose Perez. He's not bad either. And then on their bench, they got Iheanacho. Chowdhury does a good job in the centre of the park. Patson Daka, as you said, they bought him for 30 mil. He must be all right. And they bought this Samare for 20 mil. So they got a lot. I mean, the strange one was Wolves, though. We're going on Wolves now. I mean, I've got to wrap up the show. Get your questions in now if you've got any. Because we've only got about 5 to 7 minutes left. Wolves are playing what? They've always played this system. And they've brought back Jimenez as well, right? Because he was injured all season, wasn't he? So that's a good addition to their side. I don't know who this is. I mean, it's fun. You know when it's like a Brazilian or a Portuguese or something? They always get the name wrong, don't they? They always get the name wrong on like Sky Sports and BBC. Who is this guy? Francesco Trinco. They must have just bought this guy. Oh, is it Barcelona? On January 2020, Barcelona announced the transfer of Trincao, initially effective on July the 1st. He signed a 5-year contract for 31 million with a buyout clause of 500 million. I assume that Wolves didn't pay 500 million. Oh, right, he's on loan. So he's at Barcelona. Might be an interesting player then. I mean, they must have rated him highly. I mean, but obviously, you know, I mean, who came up with that? 500 million buyout clause. Yeah, he's great. We'll have him. 500 million. Yeah. Let's have a look at his record. It's 6 goals. And he was at Braga and he got bought. 33 appearances and 8 goals. Braga B, 46 appearances, 6 goals. He mustn't be an out-and-out striker then. I don't know about that. Well, yeah, all right, he's a winger. Fair enough. But yeah, I mean, maybe he's good. Barcelona bought him. He must be good. But then again, it doesn't always work like that, does it? All right, so yeah. Cody I rate in the middle of the park. Kilman as well. He's a good player. I like that defence. It's a good defence. It's a really good defence. It was a good defence last season. I'm surprised they didn't get that Doherty back. He was brilliant for Wolves. He's not really done that well for Spurs. And then they've got Hoover. I don't really know that much about. They normally play, what's his name? Bolly, is it? I can't remember. They've got Dian Donker. And then they've got them two in the midfield. Neves and Xiao Them two work well together. Got a good centre mid. Traore, the Barcelona and Jimenez. Yeah, I mean, they're not going to go down. They're not going down. I mean, obviously, this is their... They sold the goalkeeper, though, didn't they, to Roma? Which was a strange one. I thought it was really strange. But let's just have a look at their bench. We've got Fabio Silva, they bought for a few quid. Nelson Semedo, he's Barcelona. Dian Donker is not bad. And then obviously these are youngsters. Ait Nouri, I don't really know him. But yeah, I think Wolves are all right. I think Wolves should be all right this season. I don't think they'll go down. I think they'll come about, all of these teams. I think they'll come about 10th or 11th. Wolves. 10th or 11th, I think it will be a good season for them. I don't think it'll be anything special. But, I think they've got way more quality than the rest of them in the dogfight. As I say, we'll do a show on the dogfight, but let's be honest. The Norwich, Palace, Southampton, Burnley. Who else is in here? I mean, it depends on West Ham. West Ham could get dragged into it because of their Europa League campaign, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. But they could. Newcastle will get dragged into it. Brighton might. Watford will. Brentford will. So, you've got a few of them. There's a lot of teams there that could go down. Obviously, 3 out of 7 or 8 will go down. I think Norwich are gone because, they love to go up and down. But I posted it anyway today, my prediction. So you can check that at the end of the year and tell me that I'm a visionary. Liverpool obviously are going to win the league, and Norwich will come. Liverpool 1, Norwich 20, of course. But yeah, I enjoy speaking about the smaller sides in the Premier League anyway. But next time on the show, what we're going to do, let me just put it back on the screen. As I say, we're going to talk about some dodgy owners, but we're going to focus on Wigan. So it's going to be an interesting show. I'm going to do a lot of research for this one on Thursday. So it's going to be a show all about Wigan Athletic. Get your questions in, what you think. Tell me about other owners, what's going on at the other clubs, because there's so many owners at all these clubs, and most of them are unknown. As I say, if you list all the 20 clubs, you could name all the managers, right? But try and list in all the owners of the clubs. I mean, most people don't even know who owns Spurs. They all think Daniel Levy owns Spurs. Daniel Levy don't own Spurs. There's a lot of the owners of the clubs are just very unknown. So I think we're going to do a show on the owners. I think it's going to be interesting. We'll get it out on YouTube, and we'll take it from there. So make sure you watch it. It'll be 8 o'clock UK time, Thursday. It'll be all about Wigan and dodgy owners. So get your questions ready. Tweet me at James Rich Show. Message me. Comment on our videos on YouTube, James Rich Show. We'll put all of these out on YouTube. So thanks for watching us, guys, and we'll see you on Thursday at 8 o'clock UK time, 9 o'clock European time. Thanks a lot. James Rich is out. See you later.